And we got a great edition this week for you. We're getting a little bit of a late start here. Sorry about that. Guests are still coming in, but we got an action-packed hour, or actually probably about 2 hours for you now. We'll probably go on until about 11 o'clock. Having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Please bear with us just for a second while we work this out. I will now introduce my co-host, Jim Jenkins. Welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Andy. It looks like we're not going to have a webcam tonight, but we will be filming it, so they'll be able to go back to the net site later and be able to watch the show.
I think you're right. Again, the show is podcast on riverfrontradio.com. Just go to the Ground and Pound logo on the front page, and it'll take you into our site, and we podcast every episode for 2 weeks, and it's actually better than the webcam because it's about 15 seconds off from the voice when we do the webcam. When you go to the podcast, you get to see everything as it is. So you're really better off just listening anyway, so lucky you guys out there. Also like to welcome Jay D'Amato. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, glad to be here.
And I'd like to welcome back our co-host, Pamela Rossi. Pamela, we've missed you.
I know I missed you guys too. I'm glad to be the fourth one back.
Well, we are
All
really glad to
again.
have you guys. I think everybody here attended Steel City Rumble 5 at the Chaffetz Arena this past weekend. I'm telling you, Pam, I saw some of the interviews you did, and we're going to put those on the site. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you guys got to check this out. She was interviewing some of the fighters. She interviewed Jay, getting his opinion on something. I don't remember what it was, but it was a really good interview. All of them were really, so I can't wait to get those on.
Very controversial.
Yeah, we try to be controversial. They're very controversial.
Andy, when you went back and looked at those pictures, do you realize why never to hand me a camera again?
Jim, I got to be honest with you. You have to try to take worse pictures than that. No, but I appreciate you doing that. Actually, you got some really good pictures in there.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, there were a few anyway. You know what we're going to do? We're going to cut this off, and it might help our sound altogether. Okay, let's see if that makes a difference. I think that made us a little bit clearer.
It's a little loud on that, maybe.
What's that?
It just seems a little bit loud in the headset.
I think we bring that down a little bit.
Do you want me to just start screaming?
If you're an engineer and would like to help us on the Ground and Pound show.
Yeah, we are looking for engineers. But let's talk about the fights this weekend just for a second, because we got a lot of guests we need to get on tonight. One of the best matchups, fight for fight, that I've ever seen. They had 17 fights that night, or 18 fights that night, and all of them were very well matched up.
17 fights.
There were very few that went that were first round stoppages that I remember, maybe 3 or something. It seemed like most of them went right into the second and third rounds, which is amazing.
Yeah, for that many fights, you don't usually see that. You know, at least there's a lot more one-sided fights, but even when they were stopped early, they were, when they were first-round stoppages, they were exciting, and they were guys that belonged in there with each other.
Right, and if they didn't all go the distance, there were some second round, third round stoppages, but hats off to Steve Knogle and whoever else helped him matchmake, because that was a really, really good card.
Yeah, it really was. And I know Steve Knogle and his partner, Scott Smalley, worked really hard on getting that show together. One of the most amazing MMA crowds I've ever seen, as far as the people were into the matches. They knew what they were looking at, and, it was just a really good crowd. It was a peaceful crowd. They didn't start any fights or anything
no
like that.
No drunken a-holes this time?
Yeah, I was trying to be nice about it, but yeah, exactly right. And we had some really interesting bouts. We had in the 170-pound weight class, we had number 1, I can't think of it. Tim Smott. Sorry, Tim. Going against number 2, Lance Benoist. And Tim started off that fight really, really well, knocked Lance down twice. But then Lance sucked him in and got him into an armbar that was inescapable, I'd say, at least for
Tim
Scott.
got excited. He thought he was going to finish him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he left his arm out there.
He left his arm out while he tried to finish him, and it got reversed on him, and that's what MMA does.
Well, I was surprised because Tim went after him a little bit, and was the aggressor, and I was impressed with that. It was working for him, and he stuffed him once or twice and hit him a couple good shots. And I mean, it was stopped at 1 minute of the first round, but that doesn't tell the story, because really for the first round or first minute, Tim was winning.
2 seconds in the armbar, he was doing really well.
Yeah, he was doing really
good. He got that armbar right now, locked in, done.
But hats off to Lance. He knew what he was doing there.
Well, Tim said he didn't even know it was coming.
Yeah.
He said he didn't know until it was on. When it came on, he went, oh. Because he was really into taking him going after him.
That would be the best time when you don't know they're coming, but yeah.
His defense was down and he got caught.
So I guess number 1 and number 2 are going to be changing places, Andy, right?
Yeah, actually, we've had a lot of changes on the on all the weight classes, not just as a result of this fight, but for some different reasons. So hopefully towards the end of the show, I'll get to announce all the new changes. But yes, at 170, we have a new number 1 in Lance Benoist, and we now have number 2, Tim Smock at number 2.
And Lance is out of Vaggies Martial Arts with Mike Rogers and St. Charles Martial Arts. So
Yeah, St. Charles.
congratulations. Yep.
Yep, very good fight, really good. Another exciting fight of the night was the Chris Hogan, Matt Ricehouse fight.
Number 1 against number 5 at
Yeah.
155. That was a great fight.
It really was. I don't think it was Chris Hogan's best outing that I've seen, but at the same time, Matt Ricehouse looked amazing. I mean, just amazing kid. Well, you look at him and he just was so mild-mannered, so nice. Really a great kid, great man, a young man, I should say. And but man, he's a bad guy. I mean, in the ring, he's a bad guy.
Yeah. Now did
Chris
that?
Hogan mounted him really easy, which was a surprise.
Yep.
He was in the guard, past the guard, flipped right to a mount. That was as slick as I've seen. He was standing, and he's moved his hips and leg and got boom. He was into the mount, got him there, but he was able to reverse it. And then it was a back and forth. It was very good.
Now there's
Chris showed some nice things.
so many fights. It's kind of a blur. Did that end towards the end of the first round, or was it second round?
That ended, I think, in the first round. I don't know that made it through the. Oh, it did. No, it went to the second round.
It was second round.
It was definitely second round because they came out and did better on the gloves in the second round, and then and so he got them into the second round. So they both went through the first round, and it was just a back and forth fight, really tough.
Yeah, it was a really exciting, good fight. That's the one that I really wanted to see that night. I got up real close to cage side to make sure I watched that one, and it was what I'd hoped it would be.
I had a great view of it. I was refereeing it, and it was one hell of a fight. It was from beginning to end. It was nonstop.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not off the top of my head. I can't think of who's number 2 through 4, but I can't imagine that outing would hurt Chris Hogan. It might even move him up still in the rankings. I mean, he did a really good job too, even though he didn't come out the winner that time. But it was an effort that I thought was right there. He looked like he was handling Matt for a little while, and like you said, Ricehouse is just so laid back. He's that way in his own personality outside of the cage too. A very laid back kid or young man.
We had him on the show here, and we pretty much had to have 2 people twist his arm to get 3 words out of him.
Full teeth, yeah.
So very quiet, and but man, he
But
showed
very
he
talented
off.
and showed a lot.
What? I told you I ran into him at Cage of Fury the week before, and he was working security there, and I said, "Who are you fighting again on Saturday?" And he's like, "I don't know." he didn't care.
Wow.
And that's not a slight at Hogan. I just think that he's that laid back of a kid. He really didn't mind who he was fighting. And did he tell us that he's naturally a 145, Randy?
Yeah, Hogan does fight at 145 also. So, regardless, I'd like to see the fight again. Down the road a little bit, see Ricehouse and Hogan, because those 2 guys get in the ring. There's no saying what's going to happen. 2 very, very talented, 2 very tough guys. Another interesting fight, I thought it was a real interesting fight of the night, was Carlitos Jones versus Blake Chatham.
That was your guy.
Yeah, Carlitos is my guy, and Blake Chatham is Steve Berger's guy, who we're going to have on a little bit later here tonight. And that was just an exciting fight. I mean, that was really back and forth. Could have gone either way. At one point, I thought Carlitos won the first and third rounds, but I think Blake took the second round. So I've had a lot of people
That's a
tell me
close
that as
fight.
well. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, you
The
saw.
third round, it was the deciding factor, and that was what you want. That's as good as it's going to get.
It was really cool to see Carlitos kind of turn it up in the third round, because that's what his specialty is turning it up, keep bringing it. And it was kind of funny after the first round. I thought, Blake went back to his corner, and Carlitos barely made it back to his corner. He's like jumping up and down, ready to go again. But then he didn't have the second round he expected to have.
Yeah, I think it was one of those fights that both guys probably learned a lot out of it. They learned a little bit more about themselves and how to handle a fight of that magnitude. It's always better when you get to go 3 rounds, but I know Carlitos, I'm sure, learned a little bit because everybody makes mistakes in them, and I thought he kind of gave away the second round.
Well, he got poked in the eye and he got punched in the throat.
Okay.
And that threw his game off completely.
It can
And
do
then
that.
the guy, the referee started to stop it and say, "Do you need some help?" And then everybody started booing him. And